Let's cut the noise. There is one single number that should shake you awake. In 1980, the wealthiest 1% of the population owned a sliver of the national pie, around 7% of the total wealth. Today, that same 1% owns almost a third of everything, 32%. Don't let that statistic just wash over you. Think about what it means. It means that while you've been hustling, while you've been paying your bills, while you've been working harder than the generation before you, a tidal wave of money has been silently flowing away from you and straight into their hands. The question isn't, are the rich getting richer? We know they are. The real question is, why? And more importantly, how are they pulling off this legal heist without you even noticing the theft in progress? We were all raised on the same bedtime story, the myth of the grind. Put in the hours, climb the corporate ladder, save religiously, and one day you'll be comfortable. They called it the meritocracy, the belief that the system rewards effort. But you know, deep down, that this story is broken. You know people working 2 side gigs, stressing about the furnace breaking, while someone else inherits enough capital to cruise through life on autopilot. The struggle you feel isn't due to a lack of effort on your part. It's because the entire playing field has been tilted so far that you're essentially fighting gravity. This is not a failure of individual character. This is the calculated result of a system built, brick by brick, over decades, with one primary purpose: wealth concentration. It's not a system that malfunctioned, it's a machine working exactly as designed. We're going to expose the 5 silent gears of this machine today. And once you see the engineering, you can never unsee it. Let's start with the root of all this, the original sin of the modern economy. It all goes back to 1971. When the dollar was pegged to gold, money was constrained. Like a physical commodity, you couldn't just create it on a whim. But when President Nixon severed that tie, the leash came off. The government, or more accurately, the Federal Reserve, gained the supernatural ability to create money endlessly. And guess what? They've used that power, creating trillions out of thin air. Here's the massive disconnect: that freshly printed money doesn't filter down to your wages. It doesn't get distributed evenly. It floods into the financial system, directly inflating the value of assets. We're talking stocks, bonds, corporate land, and major real estate holdings. If you own these things, you win. Your net worth soars, not because you innovated, but because the currency you hold has been diluted. You become rich by accident of ownership. Now contrast that with the value of your labor. You are 70% more efficient than the worker of 1980. We have technology that should have made our lives exponentially easier. Corporate productivity, the value you generate, has gone through the roof. Yet your purchasing power, your actual take-home salary adjusted for inflation? It has barely moved up by 10%. So, let's call it what it is, a massive skimming operation. You create $100 worth of value, and the system diverts $60 of that value away from your paycheck and straight into the accounts of the shareholders and executives who own the corporate stock. Think about the CEO to worker pay ratio. It's not 40-1 anymore, it's over 350-1. That shift didn't happen because CEOs suddenly became superheroes. It happened because their pay packages were re-engineered to be stock-heavy, meaning they profit directly from the inflation cycle that crushes their employees. It's brilliant, it's legal, and it's the core of the problem. The next gear is debt, and this is truly toxic. We don't have a single credit system. We have 2 completely different credit universes based on whether you have collateral. Universe A, the owner's access. If you have assets, a portfolio, equity in a business, banks treat you like royalty. They offer you money at laughably low rates, often 2% to 4%. You can use this cheap money to buy even more assets. This is called leverage. The wealthy use debt as a tool to multiply their gains. They borrow low, invest high, and the asset appreciation and inflation cover the minimal interest cost. They essentially get paid to go into debt. Universe B, the laborer's trap. If you don't have assets, you need debt just to keep your life functioning. That emergency car repair, the unexpected medical bill, the desperately needed college degree. For you, the interest rates are punitive, 15%, 20%, sometimes 25%. This is not leverage, it's a shackle. When you pay 23% interest on a credit card balance, every penny of that is pure profit extracted from your labor and transferred to the bank's owners. You are paying a premium just for being financially vulnerable. One side of the economic ledger compounds wealth through cheap borrowing, the other side compounds poverty through punitive fees. The interest rate differential is one of the most ruthless wealth transfer mechanisms ever devised. If debt is the shackle, the tax code is the shield. They told us taxes were fair. They lied. The tax system is meticulously constructed to put a heavy burden on income derived from work and a light burden on income derived from ownership, capital gains. If you're a regular employee, taxes are unavoidable. They're taken out automatically. You pay high income tax rates because your labor is visible and immobile. You can't hide your job offshore. But for the ultra-wealthy, the rules are different. They benefit from a massive, structural loophole. I'm talking about the buy, borrow, die strategy. Think of it, a billionaire has $100 million in stock. If they sell it, they pay a 20% capital gains tax. So they don't sell. Instead, they go to a bank and take out a multi-million-dollar loan using the stock as collateral. That loan is tax-free money, because it's not income, it's a debt. They live off that borrowed money for decades, paying effectively zero in income tax. When they eventually pass away, their heirs inherit the stock, and the tax basis is stepped up to the current market value. All those gains accrued over a lifetime? They vanish for tax purposes. The heirs sell the stock tax-free to pay off the loan and keep the rest. It is a perfectly legal, sophisticated mechanism that allows the absolute richest people in society to pay a lower effective tax rate than the person who cleans their office. You are required to pay tax on every dollar you earn. They legally avoid tax on hundreds of millions of dollars of gains. This isn't a loophole, it's a fortified exit ramp built specifically for the wealthy. Most people view an economic crisis, 2008, 2020, etc., as a catastrophic mistake. The truth is much darker. Crises are high-speed wealth transfer events. They are opportunities for the informed elite. Take 2008. When the banking system imploded due to reckless gambling, millions of ordinary families lost their homes. Foreclosures devastated neighborhoods and crushed retirement accounts. The perpetrators? They received the biggest government bailout in history, trillions of dollars printed to shore up their balance sheets. They took that money, your money, and did two things. They paid themselves massive bonuses, and they began systematically buying up the distressed assets they had just created. Hedge funds and private equity firms bought foreclosed homes at rock-bottom prices. Today, those same firms are your landlord, charging you rent on a house that was once owned by a middle-class family. That crisis was the single most efficient transfer of housing wealth from Main Street to Wall Street in decades. The same happened in 2020. The government printed $6 trillion to keep the economy afloat. The bulk of that money bypassed small businesses and struggling workers, rushing straight into financial markets, propping up asset prices. Billionaires had their best financial year ever while small business owners went bankrupt. This is the ritual. The system breaks. Money is created. That money flows to assets. The asset owners get richer. The worker is left with debt and the inflationary bill. This is not a sequence of errors. It is a predictable, managed outcome. Finally, we have to look at the cold, hard math of compounding. If you start with nothing, your financial life is driven by linear income. You work an hour, you get paid for an hour. Your growth is flat, and inflation is constantly eroding your purchasing power. If you start with capital, your life is driven by compound returns. That $1 million grows exponentially. The gap between linear growth and exponential growth widens every second, regardless of how hard you work. You can save every penny, you can work 60 hours a week, you can delay gratification for years, but you will never mathematically catch up to the person who inherited the compounding engine. It is impossible. This is why generational wealth is so crucial. It's not just a head start, it's a different game entirely. You're trying to sprint, while they are on a high-speed train that accelerates automatically. Look at the housing market again, as it perfectly summarizes all 5 gears at once. The government prints money, which inflates house prices. People who already own win. People who don't are trapped in expensive rent that benefits the large corporate landlords. If you finally manage to buy, you get crushed by high mortgage rates because you don't have enough collateral. And the gains you eventually make will be taxed at the favorable capital gains rate if you play your cards right. The system is engineered so that starting with capital grants you access to cheap debt, tax avoidance, exponential growth, and protection from economic crises. Starting with only labor grants you linear income, punitive debt, high taxes, and vulnerability to every single crisis. The ultimate uncomfortable truth is this: you cannot outwork a system designed to extract the value of your work. Your struggle is systemic, not personal. We are watching history repeat itself. Wealth concentrates. Power centralizes. We are drifting toward a neo-feudal state where ownership is everything, and labor is a commodity. The pattern has only been broken when people stopped fighting each other and started understanding the rules of the game. It happened with the labor movement. It happened with the New Deal reforms. Change requires mass awareness and organized pressure. But while we wait for that collective change, you have a responsibility to yourself. You must transition from a laborer to an owner. You must prioritize the acquisition of compounding assets over the mere accumulation of linear income. You must learn the tax and debt rules that the wealthy use. Stop fueling the machine. Start building your own. If this analysis clarified the hidden map of the economy for you, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We're going to dive into the exact tools you need to shift your position in this game.